Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Andres. I'm coming at you guys with the first episode or the introduction episode of my podcast and the new series that I am going to be showing you guys for the next coming weeks and months, hopefully years. What I'm going to try to do is explain to you guys a little bit about who I am, what I do, and what I want to do on this podcast, and the different types of scenarios and the different types of topics that we're going to talk about throughout this podcast. It's going to be very cool. I want it to be very light. It is going to be 100% about sports. I want to talk about sports because it's my favorite thing in life. It's my passion. It is what I wake up to every day and what I go to sleep to every day. I just love it so much. It's something that I was born into with, a super fanatic family, a dad who is absolutely nuts about fitness and sports and everything from golf to running to soccer. A little bit about my dad. My dad has ran 9 marathons in his life, which is ridiculous. There's people who have never ran a 5K before, including me. And he's ran 9, which is absolutely insane. It's beautiful. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen anybody do closest to me, and especially because he's my dad. It's something that I love to see, and I love to get a lot of pointers from him. And he tells me a marathon is just like life. It has a lot of stages. It has a lot of steps, but you got to grind it out. And I think that's what makes that type of activity or that type of event so enduring and so like romantic. It's just something that's very, very cool to see, and to know that he's done 9 of them inspires me every single day. He's always loved golf too. Since I was a little kid, I remember him putting me in camps and us putting in the family room and hitting balls outside. And he even joined the amateur Colombian tour for a little bit with his brother, who was my uncle, obviously, and they were really good for a while. I think my uncle's still playing on that tour, but my dad did that for a little while. And yeah, just he's the one that brought me up every single day. I can't remember not being on a Sunday at home and having the TV on and there wasn't a golf tournament on, or an NBA game or a football game on. It was just always consistently sports. And I love my mom that she let us or that she handled it the right way, because I have a brother also, and it was just all 3 of us just always playing sports, always watching sports. And she was a tough cookie, taking all that in and accepting it, I guess. So that made me want to do a lot of sports and do a lot of different type of activities. The term competition to me is just something that I love. It's just something that I feel like, I guess I was born with, or maybe taught by my dad, but it was just something that I felt so close to. I've always told that joke to everybody that I love sports and competition so much that I can watch 2 monkeys, throw a sock around, and if you explain to me the points and what team is what, I'll start watching it. It's just that's the type of guy that I am, and that's the type of things that I like. Everything that has to do with a point system and an underdog and a champion and a villain and all that stuff. It's like I said before, it's very romantic, and to me, it's something very, very cool and something that I'd love to watch every day of my life. And I was trying to remember. I was talking to my friend the other day, and I was trying to remember the last time that I didn't like turn on ESPN, or I didn't watch something that happened that day or that week in sports. And I honestly cannot remember. I just honestly can't remember the last time I didn't see something that had to deal with competition or a specific sport. So yeah, I'm kind of like a sports nut, obviously, to put it in, but I'm rambling right now, and I don't want to ramble. That's the number one thing I didn't want to do on this podcast. So a little bit about me. I grew up in Miami, Florida. Huge home team fanatic. Love the Dolphins. I love the Marlins. Love the Heat. Love the Panthers. Super excited about Miami FC, the soccer team with Beckham and all that stuff coming in. I'm just a huge Miami fan. I was raised here. And I just love the culture that we all bring. Even though a lot of people, I got into a lot of bar and party arguments with a lot of people from other places that tell me that Miami fans are the worst fans in the world, that we always leave games early and all that stuff. And it's cool to defend that whenever you're going against other fans. But yeah, just diehard fan, diehard Miami fan for everything. I also graduated in psychology out of FIU. So my alma mater was FIU down here in Miami also. And when I went to go do my master's, I wanted to do something a little bit more specific with sports, because psychology was one of the biggest things that I understood in school, and I felt I understood in life and with like relationships and with like my everyday events. So I kind of wanted to combine that with my love for sports. Sports has always been like a hobby to me. It's always been something just like pastime, just like to watch. But then when I started realizing how much of a passion I have for it, and how for no reason I would just go up and check statistics of a team that we're playing against the next day, or just to look up an individual, or when you're talking to somebody, you just spit out knowledge for no reason. Like I started seeing like, why am I not using this for like a life career, like for something that I can make money out of, or make something out of it, or something that I can enjoy. So I combined the psychology the degree that I got, and I combined it, and I got my master's in sports psychology, which is where I am here in this present day. I own a consulting firm that I use with athletes. We counsel them. We use a lot of different techniques for performance, for mental performance, and mental techniques to help them with their anything on and off the field. On and off the field problems or issues that they're going through, or just to tweak certain things that they want to get better at and get done for their specific skill or their specific sport. And I'm enjoying it every single day. I also bartend part-time because I just love bartending. I've been bartending for a long time now, and I've been in the service industry for a while, so I love doing that too. I just love talking to people, being around the drinks and the food and all that stuff. It's something that I really, really love. So it's very cool to let you guys know all about that. So basically that's what brought me here today. I wanted to create a podcast that dealt with everything that has to do from life events, the psychology of life events, and sports, and combined all those three into one. It's going to be a little difficult. It's going to be tough. I know it is, because, not everything goes the way you plan it, but I want to try to mix all that into this podcast, because I feel like whenever I've talked to somebody or I've enjoyed a conversation with somebody with sports, I feel like it always leads to, life events or life lessons, and it always leads to something that you want to combine it with. When you think of like the 2004 Red Sox, I'll never forget that. They called them they were they had the biggest curse in one of the biggest curse in sports history. And once they got through that curse, they started explaining how how that's just how life is. Sometimes you push and you push and you push and you push for years and years and years until you finally get what you desired. And I remember specifically the Red Sox because it was such a beautiful story, and I thought it was just so heartwarming. And you would see these clips about guys talking about their grandfathers being like, they were dead obviously, and they weren't able to see the Red Sox win, and those sons that were obviously 40-50 years old at the time would go to the graveyards and would start crying and saying, Dad, like, we did it, like they finally won. And there was a lot of stories like that. And when you combine that, it's literally just a game. It's just a baseball game. It's just two teams in uniforms that pay lots of money to play. But once you put that romantic touch to it, and once you put that personal human being feel to it, it just makes it so much better and so much grand. And those are the kind of stories that I kind of want to bring into this podcast. Heartbreak too. Stuff that happens because of injuries. The falls that we have in sports, and how you combine that with life, and how that player's dealing with it individually, how the team will deal with it individually, and how we can transfer that over, to life events, like how that happens to us all the time. So basically, I just want to bridge that gap of the psychological emotions that sports has. Sports in general, I want to talk about, what's going on in the present. I do want to make it fun and light. I don't want to be too like sobby and too psychological and, too scientific. So I do want to talk about what's going on in sports during that week and those events, and obviously like the cultural and the pop cultural stuff that's going on with sports through that events, and then bridge that gap, combine all three of them with the life event at the end, with the life lessons or the life teachings that all brings that it brings it together. So hopefully we can start getting it. Hopefully I can everything that I'm talking about, I can combine it, make it nice and juicy, nice and fun, very heartwarming, and very light for everybody to listen to. And I hope you guys enjoy everything that I bring in these next coming weeks on this podcast. So this one is going to be an introduction base, obviously. I already talked about myself. I talked about what the podcast is going to be. I also want to show I want to do interviews in this podcast. I want to interview a lot of my friends who I know are very, very knowledgeable, who know 10 times more about sports than I do. I have a couple friends that are like literally encyclopedias. They can just spit out numbers, spit out events, spit out stuff that, I would never be able to do. I would need a computer for. So I would love to talk to them about how they, enjoy sports, and how like their back story and their history about sports, and their personal experiences with all that. So I can't wait to bring in interviews. I got a couple people that I already know who I'm going to interview and bring on to the podcast. And then that's going to be part of the, keeping it light. I also want to talk about, like I said, the different events that are going on in sports. This last summer we had the Olympics. If I was doing the podcast, I would definitely be talking about the Olympics a lot. We are right around the corner from football starting. Football starts this week. Actually tomorrow, Thursday, which is super exciting. That's probably my favorite sport. Soccer is in full effect out in Europe, which is really, really cool. And then we got basketball and hockey. They're going to start next month. That's very soon also. So yeah, we're in full fall effect, which is everybody who knows and loves sports knows that this is the best time of the year. Especially because, it's starting to get a little cool. It's starting to get winter. We start getting to that Thanksgiving and Christmas time. Sports are just in full effect. It's just, to me, it's my favorite quarter of the year. It's the last 3 months that are the best ones for everything for me. All right, so yeah, definitely this is what we're gonna be doing. My next podcast, I'm definitely gonna be talking about football. I'm probably gonna be doing that next week. Definitely gonna be talking about football, how the opening weekend was, who were the biggest stars, who were the biggest losers, what went down, what happened. There's always, every single weekend something goes down, especially on opening weekend. So we're gonna find out about that. We'll also get into a little bit of the playoff push for baseball. We are right around the corner for the playoffs too, the wild card chase, who's going to win the divisions. I know my Marlins are doing horrible in this last couple weeks, man. It's like, damn, it's so heartbreaking. I think they lost 10 out of 11 or 9 out of 10. They had 2 road trips, and it's just, they were doing so good, and then Stanton left, and we had a couple injuries, and D. Gordon's just not playing as well as he should be. So I don't know. I'll talk a lot about that, a little bit more into detail when it comes to that. And yeah, I'm so super excited about bringing this podcast to you guys. Hopefully everybody will enjoy it. I would love feedback, on my Instagram, on my Facebook, text message if you know me, emails. Definitely would love feedback. Love to find out what you guys like, what you guys don't like. And I'll decide if I'm going to switch it or not, because it's my show. So I'll figure that out. And yeah, I can't wait for this, for the future about this podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you guys soon. All right. Peace out.